So this year I planted 2 beds of potatoes. I used the raised beds, and there's one and there's another. And as you could see, these beds look different. So these plants did not get very high, and these plants seem to have gotten much taller than the other bed. Now, of course, they're all dying off now. It's about time to harvest, so they don't look that great. But I can't help but wonder why these plants grew so much bigger than these ones. The bed was filled with essentially the same material, so I was thinking, and then I remembered my video I made back in September where I cleaned out my chicken coop, and I realized that most of the material from that chicken coop went into this here bed. By the time I built this bed, it was shortly after that, so this bed did not get any of that material because I put all of it in here. So it's looking like the one difference between these 2 beds that caused such smaller plants in this bed and such bigger plants in this bed was chicken bedding mixed with manure. Now, you might be saying, well, that's all great, but we're not growing potato plants to eat. That's not what we want. We want what's underneath. And you are right. So I'm going to stop yapping. I'm going to start digging these beds up. I'll start with the less impressive bed. I will use my handy fork here to try not to destroy the potatoes like I would with a shovel. And we will see how the potatoes from this bed look. So here it is. This is the harvest from the bed with the smaller plants. I have it all harvested out. We'll weigh this and we'll weigh the other batch and compare them. But so far, looking decent, not amazing, but decent. Got a few larger size spuds, which is nice. I don't think I had really any decent sized spuds last year, so that's good. But I'll weigh these at the end and then compare the 2 beds, and then I'll compare to how I did last year. Because remember, this is my first year growing potatoes in raised beds, so I want to compare it to the performance of the crop in the ground. And yeah, next up is the big bed. After a short water break, it's really hot today. All right, and that other bed is all dug out, and as you can see, way more potatoes in this one. I did forget that I had 2 different varieties in this bed, and in the other bed there was only the red potatoes. So that is one more variable, but as you saw, all the plants, all the greenery was very large, so I think the main difference, rather than the different varieties of potatoes, which are pretty evenly split here, all pretty evenly sized between the 2 varieties, I think the main difference was that chicken bedding, which you could still see some of it here, not fully decomposed. I just think that really made all the difference. One comment actually about this, so there were more potatoes than what you see here. They were actually a lot that were damaged from some kind of pest eating them. I put them to the side, maybe, well, not maybe, definitely the chickens will get them. But yeah, there were a lot of eaten up potatoes, and I think I have a theory that has something to do with if you do like almost a hugelkultur type bed, or like you have a lot of large pieces of wood and things like that, sticks, then I think the issue of like voles and moles and kind of digging creatures is a bigger deal. I think this bed probably had a little bit more wood. You see the bigger pieces there, as opposed to this one. There's not really the big pieces of wood. So I think the more hugelkultur-y the bed is, the more issues you have with like moles and stuff. But I don't know, maybe that'll be another experiment for another day. But yeah, definitely a nice yield here, and I'll get both batches inside and I'll weigh them up. Alright, so I got the baby scale out again, like in the last video, and I have the potato bags. So let's start with weighing the bag of the smaller, the less impressive bed, rather. See, we have 10.7 pounds. And then the bed that had the more impressive greenery, I guess we need to tar this first. 11 pounds. So really not that much more potato in here per weight. So, but that is on a small scale, that's a lot. That's like almost 10% more, right? So what is my takeaway? So between the two of those bags, that's about 22 pounds. In that last potato video I made, that was just under 15 pounds, and that was in way more garden space. So what are my takeaways? My takeaways are that chicken manure is great. It's a great fertilizer, and it's a great reason to have chickens is to utilize their waste in the garden. And my other takeaway is raised beds are great. You just get better yield out of a smaller amount of space. To get, you know, um, 20 pounds versus, or 21 pounds versus 15 pounds and use like a third of the space is just the results speak for themselves. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something.